Hello, everyone. This is the most magnificent bird, Beak, speaking to you today. And in today's video, I'm back at it with another character review. And this character review will be on Gold Mythic Officer Negan. Yes, you heard that right. Not Officer Rick, but Officer Negan. And before we get started, I hope all of you are doing good and staying safe out there. I'm doing good and I'm staying safe out there as well. And yeah, I know I'm a couple days late on this character review, but right now war just ended like, I don't know, a couple hours ago, like 2 hours ago, something like that. But pretty much war just, CRW just ended, so I figured I would wait until after CRW. And I just have to address, before we actually get into the review, I gotta address the artwork. Definitely, I mean, Officer Negan taking that kid's jack-o'-lantern full of candy, like, come on, and the kid is crying in the background dressed as Negan. Like, come on, what a prick. What an absolute prick. That is something he would do just for the hell of it, and it just, I like the artwork. It's just showing that he, when he was an absolute prick, absolutely. And it's funny that he's an officer. It's definitely the polar opposite of what he is. Oh man, it just makes it that much greater, the artwork and what he's dressed up as. But anyway, enough of me just babbling on and on. Let's go ahead and get into this character review, shall we? Officer Negan, Saviors. His trait is alert. His role is a tank. And his allegiance is a member of the Saviors. Now let's take a look at his stats. His attack stat is 8,610. His defense, 24,107. And his HP, 24,681. Now let's take a look at his adrenaline rush. Trick or maim. The recharge rate, can't talk, is 55 AP. Deal 10% of this character's defense stat as maim damage and taunt a line of enemies for 1 turn. This fighter heals for 20% of their defense stat and gets elusive for 2 turns. Okay, so him dealing 10% of his defense as maim damage, I like that a lot, really. Because, like, there are some defensive leaders that you can put him behind that will take advantage of, boosting his defense stat even higher. I'm pretty sure there is an alert defensive leader out there. I think, in fact, isn't off-duty Rick, I know he's a defensive leader, but I'm trying to remember, he might be a rainbow leader. I'm trying to remember, I don't know, I don't use him. I generally don't use defensive tunes, but he is a defensive tune, so there's definitely defensive leaders that can take advantage of his defensive stat and boost that up even higher, right? So dealing 10% of his defensive stat as maim damage, that's going to be really good, especially if you put him right behind the right leader and weapons mods. That maim damage can be absolutely insane. I think that part is pretty good. Plus, he's taunting a line of enemies, but it's only for 1 turn. I don't know. The taunt is not bad, but it's only for 1 turn. I mean, if it was for 2 or 3 turns, I feel like that taunt would be way better. But since it's for the one turn only, I don't know. I see that as a negative. And then plus, he's going to be healing for 20% of his defensive stat and gets elusive for 2 turns. The heal is nice depending on what situations you're facing in or how low his HP is. Plus, he gets elusive for 2 turns. That's not bad. In fact, They Who Wander, I do like They Who Wander's elusive stat. Not stat, but the way that he gets elusive versus Officer Negan, because the Wanderer, he gets elusive for the rest of combat, I believe. He's only getting it for 2 turns. Negan, that is. So there's some good things, some mixed stuff in here, and then some okay stuff in his Adrenaline Rush. The maim is really good. The taunt is meh. The healing can be good, and then the elusive, it's good, but it's not going to last forever. So it's got some good stuff in here. But overall, I mean, I would say the Adrenaline Rush is good overall. So, yeah. So, let's take a look at his signature move, Fire Starter. Initial cooldown is turn 1. 2 turns for the cooldown. Number of uses, unlimited. This fighter recovers from all negative status effects. All tough and strong enemies get 15,000 burn damage for 2 turns. Deal 10% of this fighter's defense stat as damage to a line of enemies and taunt that line of enemies for 1 turn. Okay, so you got a lot happening here. He's going to be recovering from all negative status effects, which that's a really good thing, obviously, so that's very good. Now, unless he's stunned or dazed, if he isn't stunned or dazed, he can pretty much pop that off, right? So, those are the only 2 that would stop him from using the signature move, obviously, stun and daze, but other than that, if he's infected, impaired, burned, bleeding, he can clear all that. So that's going to be pretty good. Now, all tough and strong enemies will get 15,000 burn damage for 2 turns. Again, that's really great. 15,000 burn damage is an awful lot, and you potentially could be taking out toons in 1 turn with that burn damage, which that's really good. The only negative about that is it's only to tough and strong enemies. That's it. It would have been better if all enemies would have gotten that burn damage, but I could see that being a little bit too powerful, I should say. So that's perhaps why they limited to only 2 colors, but still, that's the only negative I have about it. The 15,000 burn damage for tough and strong enemies is really good. And that can obviously, I think within 1 turn, if not 1 turn, definitely 2 turns, that can wipe out a whole team. So that's going to be really good. Plus, he's going to be dealing 10% of his defense stat as damage to a line of enemies and taunt. And also, he's going to taunt that line of enemies for a turn. Again, the taunting for only a turn, I see that as a negative. If it was for 2 or 3 turns, maybe even 2 turns, that would be really good. But overall, just like his Adrenaline Rush, he's got some good things. I do like his signature move a lot better than his Adrenaline Rush, but both of them are still very good. Let's take a look at his mythic abilities. Strength, 40% critical hit resistance. Not really going to go into this a whole lot. This is really good, and I would go ahead and level this one up if you can, without a doubt, for sure. Undaunting Aura. At the start of each wave and turn, all alert and savior allegiance teammates get 100% stun resistance for 3 turns. So, obviously the way that Officer Negan is built, just based off this one mythic ability, they want you to build a saviors and or alert team around him, because you're definitely going to get the most having that stun resistance, that 100% stun resistance for 3 turns on all alert teammates and also savior teammates. Having that stun resistance for all the saviors and alert teammates, that's going to be really good, because I know I run into plenty of Mercer teams that can stun your whole team for like the first turn. I mean, I can still beat that team, no problem, but that's one particular situation where this would come in handy. But this tune, I should say, is more built for defense, obviously, but that's going to be a nice little mythic ability to have, to not be able to, not to worry about being stunned for the first 3 turns. So that is really nice. If you are planning on building a Saviors team with Officer Negan, this one is definitely highly required, I feel like, to get the most out of Negan, Officer Negan. Pumpkin Spice. At the start of each wave and turn, 100% chance to taunt a random enemy for 2 turns. Okay, so this one is going to go well with his kit together, where he's stunning at least a line of enemies on his adrenaline rush, and he's also taunting a line of enemies on his signature. But for you to not be able to have to do anything to get a random enemy taunted for 2 turns, I actually do like that better than what's on his signature and adrenaline rush. So I would 100% level this one up for sure. Taunting is still a very, very annoying part of the game. It's not the most annoying part of the game, no. But it still, in certain situations, can be really annoying and can make the difference between victory and defeat. So I would level that one up for sure if you're planning to get the most out of Officer Negan. I think that one is pretty good. Negan Lives. When being attacked, reduce damage by 70% if the attacker has a damage over time status effect. So that one's going to be really good, and especially if you're building him up to be a tank, and plus he's got a specialist skill that we're going to get to here in a moment. Already with that 70% of the reduced damage plus his specialist skill, that's going to be really good, obviously. And I would go ahead and level this one up. What kind of puzzles me is Negan, Officer Negan. He could have been an event tune, to be honest, because I'm not seeing where he should have been oh wow, yeah, he needs to be pay to play. I'm just not seeing that. He could have been an event tune, but we have an event tune going on right now, Wolfman Dwight, so that's probably why he's not in an event tune. But Negan Lives, Pumpkin Spice, all of his mythic abilities are pretty good, so I would definitely level them all up to get the most use out of Officer Negan for sure. Indomitable 2. Excuse me if I didn't say that right, but while not stunned, whenever this fighter takes damage, they gain 40% defense in addition to any existing defense increases, including prior activations of this skill. Restarts at the end of 2 turns. At the start of combat, they gain 40% defense for the first 2 turns of combat. the point, I'm not going to spend time really talking about this specialist skill. The point is, it just makes him really tanky and that much harder to kill. So, a lot of you already know that, and I do apologize if I butchered the name, but whatever. Yeah, so this special skill pretty much straightforward and to the point. It makes him harder to kill. It makes him a little bit more tanky than he would be normally. So there you go. That's the more simple, short version of what the specialist skill does. He gets 40% defense. It makes him more tanky. It makes him a little bit harder to kill than normal. There you go. So yeah, we all know that one is pretty good. Now let's take a look at his weapon. Rick's robust revolver. 40% defense, 40% HP, improved bloody aid. When being attacked, 60% chance to heal this fighter for 100% of their max HP, except when at max HP, and apply 5,000 bleed to all enemies for 3 turns. Stonewall. This fighter's defense cannot be reduced. Okay, so obviously, how I would, I guess you could go one of two ways on this weapon, but if you want to take advantage of that maim on his adrenaline rush, definitely try to go for maybe 45 defense, 50% defense, or you could go all in on the 55% defense, or you could do 50% defense, 45 HP. This one, I mean, honestly, I don't know what else you would put on this. I don't know what else you would put in his hands to, honestly, for this one, I might just stick with the base weapon and go mostly on the defense or go fully in on that defense. So either 55 defense or 50 defense, 45 HP. That's kind of the way I would go, either or. I don't think you could go wrong on either. Either way you go, either go 55% defense or 50% defense and 45% HP. It all depends on what mods you have and how you want to go on him. So, yeah, overall, I do like the fact that he is Officer Negan, the complete polar opposite of his character. And just look at that prick, that smile of him just taking that kid's candy. Oh man, what a prick. What a prick, man. I actually kind of love it though. And the thing is, that kid, he's crying in the background and he's dressed like Negan. Like, dude, like he's dressed up as you, and yet you're gonna take his candy. But are we surprised? When Negan first gets introduced, this is something he would do. Absolutely. Would he do it now in the current state of The Walking Dead? It depends. It depends. Maybe. If the kid is being a jerk, if let's just say if that kid was being a jerk to other kids, then he might do it. But early Negan would absolutely do it with no good reason at all, just to do it, just to be an asshole, you know what I mean? He's just an absolute prick in that artwork, though. I love it, though, kinda. So, I don't know. I'm not gonna pull for this character. I don't know what team I would put him in. I mean, honestly, I don't think Negan is, super good enough to be a pay-to-play toon, in my opinion. He could have been an event character, to be completely honest with you. That's how I feel. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? And yeah, I don't think I have much else to say other than I don't think I'm a pull for him. I really love the artwork. He's being a selfish prick over there. You better be careful, Negan. You better check that candy. Just saying, you know, you don't want to bite into a razor. But maybe if there is a razor in that candy somewhere, maybe he's you know, without knowing, maybe he actually is doing a good deed if there is a razor and saving that kid from that potential bad thing. But that's not the way it's coming off to me. Like, he's just being an ass and he's just being an absolute prick. But yeah, I don't have much else to say. And what are your thoughts on Gold Mythic Officer Negan? Are you going to pull for him? Do you think he's as good as a pay-to-play? Do you think he should have been an event tune? Whatever your thoughts are on him, let me know down in the comments. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by and for your continued support. Or if you're new, welcome in for the first time. All of you are very awesome, and I thank you again. And don't forget to hit the bell and switch on all notifications so you know the second I upload to YouTube. I am Beak, and I'm gonna go fly away back to my nest. Until next time, bye guys.